Welcome! Today we will learn how to crochet petit fours. The last video we did the ka, in the next video we'll do the kurbia. We will do two types of petit fours. The first is this one, we'll do the white and the chocolate. They both have chocolate and colored sprinkles. The other one was 2 layers with a jam layer between them, and we also did the white and chocolate of it. We also did another one stuffed with chocolate. The last one was a white layer and a chocolate layer with chocolate between them. So let's get started. We will start with the first type. We'll start with a chain of 6 stitches. I did 6 chains and then I'll skip the first 2 stitches. And do a single crochet in the 3rd stitch. And continue single crocheting all the way to the end of the chain. We'll do 3 stitches in the last stitch. So it gives me the curve I want. Then do single crochets on the other side of the chains as well. Now we completed a whole round. I'll do an extra stitch in the last stitch and start the second round. And continue our way. And when we get to the 3 stitches we did, we'll do 2 stitches in the first stitch of these 3 stitches. And 1 stitch in the one in the middle. And 2 stitches in the last one, and this to give us a curve wider than the first one. Then continue this round. So now we completed 2 rounds, and we finish off with a slip stitch. And this is the first layer of the petit four. We'll do a second layer the same way we did this one. Stick them together back to back. The front side is on the outside. And start connecting them. First we connect them with 1 slip stitch, so this is the first connection. And then we connect them by the inner loops of each 2 opposite stitches. So insert the hook into the inner loop of the stitch in the first layer. And then into the inner loop of the opposite stitch in the other layer and do a slip stitch. Again, the inner loop of this stitch and the inner loop of the opposite stitch, then do a slip stitch. And continue connecting both layers the same way. When we get to the curve we can do 2 slip stitches in the same stitch or else the edge might get wavy. The inner loops as we see. I'll do another slip stitch to get a nice edge and it wouldn't get wavy. Before I close it, I'll put the fiber. I'm compressing it a little bit. I'm putting a moderate amount, try not to fill it too much. And continue joining both layers after we stuff the fiber. Now we join both parts together. I'll cut this end. I'll weave this end into my work. Now we'll start doing the chocolate layer. First we'll start with the brown chocolate, then we'll add the colored decorative sprinkles. I'll use a darning needle and a brown yarn. We'll cover the upper third of the petit four with the brown color. Insert the needle here like so to make the first end of the strand inside the petit four. And then wrap it like so. And sew it to this side. Then insert the needle here. And wrap it like so. I need to cover all this beige part with brown color. So make sure to cover the parts where you inserted the needle. Continue the same way until you end up covering this part with brown color. Like this one here, we covered the whole upper part with brown yarn. And now I'll use the colored yarn. Also using the darning needle. And I'll start decorating the petit four with this color. Insert the needle like so to keep the first end of the yarn inside the petit four. And then we'll start make small pieces of this color. Of course it's up to you to choose any colors. As we see, we distribute small pieces of colored yarn to look like the sprinkles put on the petit four. Weave it in one last time. To keep the end of the yarn in the petit four and then cut off the extra yarn. Repeat the same process using other colors. I'm distributing the color randomly to intersect with each other and look like the real sprinkles. Now I'll do the other petit four. I'll do the chocolate petit four stuffed with jam. Let's start with the first layer. I'll start with 3 chains, then join them to form a ring. Chain 1 and do 2 single crochets in the first stitch. So 2 stitches here, and another 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Then finish off the first round. We did 6 stitches in this round. We started with 3 chains and did 2 stitches in each stitch. Chain 1 and start the next round, and we'll also do 2 single crochets in each stitch. Now to the third round. I'll do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, then an individual stitch, then 2 stitches together, and then 1, 2 single crochets together, then an individual stitch, continue this row the same pattern. And finish this round. Now we completed 3 rounds. The 4th row I'll start with an individual stitch, then another one. Then 2 single crochets together in the next stitch. And then 2 individual stitches, so the pattern is 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, then join the last round. Weave in the extra yarn. This is the lower layer of the petit four, and now we'll do the upper layer. We'll start with a chain of 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And join the beginning to the end to form a ring. Then chain 1. And then I'll do single crochets but not into the chain stitches. I'm inserting the hook like so and wrap the yarn around the chain. I was supposed to do 2 chains for the single crochet, not 1. but I intended to do only one because I want the spaces between them to be narrow. Because it's supposed to look like a real dough. So try to narrow the spaces as much as possible. Continue single crocheting the same way, inserting the hook into the ring, and wrapping each single crochet around each of the 12 chains. And finish off the round. Now chain 1. And start single crocheting the next round. Finish the round and pull the yarn a bit. Weave in this end. Cut off the extra yarn. Now the second layer is done. And here's the jam layer. As we see, the lower layer was 4 rounds. The jam layer will be only 3 rounds, because we want its edges to be hidden inside the 2 layers of the petit four. Following the same steps, we will do the 2 layers of the white petit four. Or we can do one white layer and the second layer is chocolate. And instead of the red color representing the jam, we can do it brown as chocolate. Now let's connect both layers together. I'll get a brown yarn and a darning needle. Insert the needle into the first layer. I should flip it to the other side so its front side is the one outside. Now insert the needle into the lower layer. Then insert it into the opposite stitch in the upper layer. I'll leave this end loose and weave it in later. In the lower layer, we can skip 2 stitches and go into the third one. And pull it like so. I did this because I want it to look natural. I don't want them to be firmly connected. I want it to look like 2 real layers of petit four stuck together with a jam layer between them. But when we go back to the upper layer, I'll go directly into the next stitch and won't skip a stitch. So the strand is tight and hidden into the work. Here I'll skip 2 stitches and go into the third. Now both layers are connected. I'll tie a knot here. And another one to make it more tight. Weave them in a bit. Cut off the extra yarn. And now we completed the 2 types of petit four. Thank you.